Woo! Welcome back, folks. So I know it has been quite some time, and this one is long overdue, but I swear I'm back. I've just been, gosh dang, man, I've been buried. Doing a lot of things. First off, training is taking up a lot of time. I'm actually training for like the first time in 2 years. I'm putting in 10 to 15 hour weeks. I've been super consistent and I'm nailing it, man. Power's good. Everything's up. I'm feeling good. So just trying to maintain that. And that is really, really tough when you also want to put out content and you have a full-time job. We also, Max and I started a podcast called the Sitting In Podcast, and it's honestly been so rewarding and so fulfilling, but it also takes up a good amount of time. But I honestly would not change that for the world. That has come at the expense of a little bit, of personal content, but once I'm now getting things dialed in and kind of in a rhythm here, I can get back to putting out the stuff that you guys love over here on this channel. So if you haven't yet, though, check out the Sitting In Podcast. It's been fantastic. The conversations with professional athletes that we've had so far and coaches and the like, they've just been really, really good. Highly recommend that stuff. If you like cycling, you probably really love the Alexi episode that we just did. That had a lot of good nuggets in it regarding the state of like U.S. cycling and everything else. But nonetheless, I digress. Let's dive into this race in particular. So this is the Tour de Bloom. Obviously, if you're familiar with it, you know that this is actually a stage race. The Criterium is just one stage of that race, and it's actually stage 3. So we're pretty deep in it already. I started out, man, really good, actually. I was feeling good coming into it. We flew up on Thursday. The first race was on Friday. It was a 56-ish mile circuit race. And that circuit race, it was hard. Ansel, my teammate, attacked with like 3K to go. That strung things out. I kind of got separated, but at the end I came back and was involved in the sprint. I just was steamrolling through the middle of the pack and got myself involved, and I ended up finishing 7th out of 87. So going into day 2, the time trial, which was the morning of this particular crit that you're watching here, I was feeling pretty good. I was like, oh man, like what am I going to be able to do in the TT? And then I woke up and things were not looking good whatsoever. So for some reason in the TT, I was really struggling to make power. I did 290 for 18, 19 minutes, which is god awful. Like I do far more than 290. I can do like 305, 310 for like my 20-minute intervals. Like I've done that pretty regularly. So I was having a lot of respiratory issues, and you're going to see that actually play out in this race as well. I really was struggling to breathe right, and my heart rate was just not responding. It would not get up. My power just wasn't coming. I dropped down to like 250 watts at one point, and it was hell. A really bad showing in the TT, and I was like, man, like, all right, I guess I'll be fine for the crit. But as you guys can see, I started in the wrong position in this Criterium. So let's first talk about the course itself. It seems really simple. If you look at the map in the upper right-hand corner, it's just a 4-corner crit. No big deal, right? Well, yes and no. That hill that we just came up is quite the kicker, and the probably most defining feature on this course is the opposite side. You go into a left-hander in corner 3, and you come down essentially like a cobbled bricked street with the same slope as the uphill. And so you'll see us coming into this, and dude, it's weird. I'll be honest. It was weird at first. I wasn't used to it. I couldn't find the line at first. I was worried about slipping out. As you guys will notice by the camera and my helmet and everything else, it was absolute chaos. Like, dude, when we were done with this race, we looked like we had just climbed out the coal mines. It was insanity. It started pouring rain on us. I mean, it had been raining all day. Rain in the TT in the morning. It was cold. So it was just a hectic one. And like I said, I started in the back. So that cobbled corner in the rain at 28 to 30 miles an hour, I was a little bit concerned about how that was going to ride. And when I first rode it, it was a lot more chattery than I expected. So I'm not going to lie, mentally, that did mess with me for the first bit of the race. And so I was really just, I don't know, man. I was kind of putting myself on the rivet by not cornering well, coming out, of corner 4 into that start-finish straight. And that leads to a lot of things. So I want to sort of talk about my positioning here and why the race as of now is so freaking hard for me. I honestly, at one point early in this race, like the first 10 minutes, was like, dude, am I going to get dropped out of this Cat 2-3 race? Like, this is ridiculous. I have plenty of fitness to be involved in this race aggressively. I was involved in the circuit the day before, which was a much harder race, arguably. I just don't know what I was thinking and being where I'm positioned right now. And let me tell you, 800 watts up this hill every time, that was not going to work out for me. My heart rate looks fine at 160 BPM, but dude, my legs were gassed. So when it comes to a race like this, when it's really strung out and when there's just a lot going on, there's a lot of attacks being thrown from the gun because there's a lot of GC contenders in the mix and there's a lot more on the line. So the tactics of the race change a lot and it becomes just a whole heck of a lot faster. People are just, throwing haymakers at each other. And so that means the race is just going to stay fast. And so when you start in the back of a race that just stays fast, it is just so hard to move up. So the first 10, 15 minutes of this race, like I said, I was really, really struggling to get involved. And I was kind of just dangling towards the back here, how you see me positioned. And that was no bueno. Essentially, the lines coming into like this corner, for example, were really bad. I was following bad lines. Didn't really have space to, fat boy trick it. So I was doing like 800 watts up that climb every single time. But then you get into this straightaway, which is a very windy straightaway. And it got really strung out every single time because people would attack the hill and then hit it on the straightaway. So I couldn't really rest and recover here. And I really just had to wait for sort of this lull that you're finally starting to see in the race to happen so that I could start to navigate the field and move up. So at this point in the race, it's still pretty early. We're about 8 minutes in, but you can see the lines back here. Like I said, they're just a little bit chaotic. So I'm starting to do my thing here and understand and learn sort of when and where I can make up positions. And I'm realizing too, like things have settled down in my head and I'm realizing, okay, I gotta like push some watts in these locations to, make gains coming like up the hill, for example, right? And so there's just stuff happening on my right there for no reason, but I do occupy the space. That's one thing that I will commend myself on throughout the whole weekend, all 4 stages. I was really good about occupying space. So if space opened up, I would fill it. And in the corners here, that was very important. But at this point, like I said, I was on the rivet, man. I was like, am I gonna get dropped? But then I knew also that people were slowing up and just riding a ton of brakes into these corners, especially these last 2. And I knew that if I just kind of sagged it and took a better line here, I could start to make up positions on my own and just, not use quite as much brake as everybody else is. No, it's costing me a lot though. You can see I'm doing 700 out of every corner. That's extremely inefficient riding, and it doesn't bode well when you're trying to be involved in any sort of real like sprint finish here. So we're coming down to start finish. Dude, the vibe of this race is rad. The beer garden was going off. It was freaking raining and people were out there just like screaming, hollering, blasting cowbells, and you can see it's pouring on us. It's filthy. We looked so gnarly, but yeah, I'm finally doing the right thing here. I know in my head that I got to get in the bubble. So let's jump forward a little bit here to when I actually get myself in the bubble and start racing my bike. Okay, so we are a full 20 minutes into this race and I've just now started to corner like my normal self and carry my speed into the hill. So I know I'm still doing like 700-800 right here, but you'll see I carry that over the top and I stay on the wheel because I know once I get up here and things fan out just a little bit, I'll have opportunities to slot forward. So that is exactly what happens. Things start sort of slowing up in the front and the back. These guys are sort of on the rivet as well, so they're kind of content with just chilling out a little bit and just rolling into the back of the peloton. I take that as an opportunity to find some space here and move up. And then, you know, once I had gotten used to the cobbly, like, downhill section, I realized that you could just haul ass. It was not actually a big deal. As long as you took a clean and smooth line here, it really was a non-issue. So I started taking the lines much better there. I was filling space, going between people in that corner, and that changed my whole race. I was able to finally recover, and I hadn't been able to recover for the first 20 minutes. So I was like full gas on the rivet. But you can see here, I'm just like carrying that momentum through the middle. And I know some people are probably gonna squeeze a little bit, but that's fine. It does cost you watts up the hill, but you can see I didn't have to maintain 700-800 near as long. This is Tony in front of me with Mike's bikes. Tony Ferrucci is sitting very well in GC. Ansel is sitting, I think, either 1 second in front or 1 second behind Tony. So they are neck and neck, and he's somebody that I kind of need to pay attention to, because if he does go up the road, I need to probably follow that, shut things down. I realistically am riding for Ansel because he did so well in the TT in the morning. He was sitting, I think, 3rd overall in GC. So you gotta remember, this is also riding for a teammate. If it comes down to a sprint and I'm involved, like, sick, that's rad, perfect, because I think that, like, the time bonuses are for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It's really not a big deal, but I can't let anything get up the road and really shake that up, because that does ruin it for Ansel. So if it comes to a sprint, I'm the guy, cool, I'm sitting in, ready to go. If anything else goes up the road, well, that's trouble. Ansel's been in a good position for most of this race, and I'm just now coming back to life over here. But yeah, getting dialed, starting to carry momentum, move up really well. I think there were a couple, break attempts that went here, but these Pacific Northwest kids, P&W Racing or something, they were flying. They kept it fast the whole time. They were throwing haymakers at each other, like I said, and that kept everything really interesting. So, spoiler alert, nothing sticks. It's just too competitive. And honestly, this field was like 90 deep the day before. I think it was 80 or something like that on this day. So I'm sitting kind of mid-pack here, but this is a good position for me because I can still see the front of the race and see what's going on. I don't want to be too far forward for really no reason. I'm not going to be a contender in a breakaway in this race right now. And honestly, I think we averaged like 28.5 miles an hour or something. So it's crazy fast. There's just like, kind of no point. So, 4-corner crit like this, yeah, I wasn't confident that anything would stick anyway. I think that this was not where GC was going to happen. It was going to be decided in the road race. There was a 5-minute climb at the end the next day, 75 miles deep into that race. So we knew the crit was probably not going to be it. So dodging Velo Sports that are having mechanicals, that was rough. Just honestly, there was a lot of stuff going on in this race, but I was able to navigate it pretty successfully from here on out, and actually I put myself in a really, really good position at the end of this thing. So as you can see, I've already worked my way to the front, and there's only, I think, maybe 15 minutes left in the race or something like that. So lap cards are going to come pretty soon, and this is kind of where I want to be when lap cards come out. I maybe could be a little bit further forward, but spoiler alert, the kid who wins the sprint in the blue overshoes is right there on my left. So, we're all kind of in the bubble doing the thing, and we were competitive in the sprint the day before. I was right on him, honestly. If I would have had another 40 or 50 meters, I probably would have gotten him. I was doing like 41 miles an hour, hit almost 1,300 watts. So I know my sprint is the thing, but I just needed to get to the point where I could actually uncork it. So I did that in the circuit, wanted to do that here in this race. You can see Ansel's on my right there. He's in a good position as well. He's in the dark kit with the white harp or lyre on the back. And so we're riding for Ducebelox DV, if you will. But yeah, we're both in the bubble. We're both sitting good here. We're keeping an eye on each other. And that brings me to sort of the end of the race, which is when you know, things are actually looking really good. I'll talk through that, but we'll talk more on it. Okay, so jumping ahead, I think there's 3 laps to go here, or 4 laps to go. I find Ansel's wheel, and we're at this point, we're pretty confident it's going to be a sprint. So I tell Ansel I'm on, and he did what I thought he was doing, was moving up, but then he kind of like just takes over the front here. And, you know, if I'm sprinting, I don't want to be this close to the front this early by any means. And he kind of has a gap, so I was like, I'm not going to follow that or like put in any effort to keep myself up the road with him. So he is only a few seconds off of like second in GC, so this is an opportunity to sort of improve our position. So anyway, Ansel's up the road here, and they get a little bit of a gap, and I was like, dude, with like 3 or 4 laps to go, I think maybe like 5-6 minutes in this race left, this could be like the opportunity that allows him to make something happen from a GC perspective. So you can see I pull off there and just let these riders fill. It's not my responsibility to chase my teammate. It's not really my responsibility to like maintain that wheel of the dude that was just like desperately chasing it. I'll let him just like go across by himself and maybe add to that break because he was going so freaking hard. I don't know who he was riding for. I don't think he actually even had any teammates, so he's just riding for himself. The old Cat 2-3 tow the whole field to the break. But nonetheless, that filters me back a little bit here. It's really not a problem because I'm still in decent enough position and we still have enough time in the race. It's definitely not the bell lap yet. And you can see on the left, I think that was 4 to go. I don't know. It's all blurry because we're going so dang fast. But nonetheless, I'm still in good position. This is looking good with so little time left in the race. And I'm thinking to myself, if I can just maintain this, like I know that I can be aggressive enough to put myself in the mix. So I want to jump to actually, I think 2 to go, or maybe jump into 1 to go here so you guys can see sort of what happens in the very, very end of this thing. Because, spoiler alert, Ansel does get brought back. I mean, you can see we've been just like full gas since they went up the road, and it's just now about to make connection. So it didn't last too long because everybody immediately was like, alarm bells going off. We gotta chase this thing. But jumping forward. Okay, so this is currently 3 to go, and as you can see, I'm at the business end of the race. All the major teams that are represented in this race are here. You got the dudes in yellow on the left there, you got the PNW guys in the middle, and you have the Audi Denver. Well, I guess it's not Audi anymore, it's like Mercedes-Benz or something. Yeah, they're all represented. I'm at the business end, I'm in the thing, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll be chilling here. The PNW kids in front of me almost took each other out. Interesting one. It just happens at the end of the race, so it's not a big deal. I had to break up a little bit, but it's not going to kill me. So at this point, it's full gas. Yeah, I got to keep moving up, and I know the hill is a good opportunity to do that. So I'm making sure that I just maintain forward momentum here. I get filtered a little bit on the inside, and people aren't quite taking this corner as fast as they should be. The ACT boys are on the right. They're moving into pretty good position here. Aviv, he can sprint, and he's getting involved. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll follow Aviv up. That's probably a good time to shuffle my way up there and find some lines. So I'm pushing there, and then as you can see, I got indecisive suddenly. I don't know what happened in my brain, but like the left side's moving and the right side's moving, and I just decided the center was where I wanted to push. But this like PA whatever W rider in the blue with the P on it, he was moving backwards so fast it wasn't doing me any favors. So at this point I'm like, all right, I gotta get back in the mix, and funny enough, I'm actually gonna do that pretty well. So I gassed myself here like 700-800. This is coming into 1 to go, and I'm thinking like, all right, like if I just take this hill faster than everybody again, I should be fine. So I kind of do that. I have an inside line here. I'm liking it. I hit the hill faster. You can see everybody's kind of slowing backwards. I gas it. Obviously, things are getting dicey there, but no biggie. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm actually sitting good here because I can move up on this back straight. But I just start exploding. And it's what you guys won't notice and like what you can't really hear is essentially when we came into that hill, my breathing just started like wheezing, and I essentially had like full-blown asthma attack in the middle of a race. And I've never had that happen before. So I have had mild asthma sort of since I was like 14. So when I was 14, I got diagnosed with like valley fever, thanks Bakersfield. And so valley fever left my lungs kind of scarred and messed up. And so I had, you know, like mild asthma from that. And then it had never really been a huge problem because I was swimming and I've been so active and all these things. Never really had to use my inhaler. But then after I got COVID, I started to have to use my inhaler a little bit. And I have had like respiratory limitations when I've been like sick and things or gotten sick in my chest, but I've never had that happen in a race to this extent. So this was really new to me. I hit that hill and like I said, I was like, like gasping for air, and I had never experienced that before. I essentially had to sit up entirely. So I was making good position. I was pushing forward. Like I said, like the day before I had the watts, like everything was there, and I did, you know, I was able to get myself in position to sprint for 7th out of 90 the day before. So I know I have like the mentality to get there and do it, but this was a crazy one, man. Like I'm not big on excuses. I'll own my mistakes, like being out of position and doing stupid things like that. And like, yeah, that was a fast backside, and like, you know, we hit the hill fast and like everything else, but my respiratory exploded. And as soon as we got back, I had a super elevated respiratory rate on Whoop. It was like 19 or 20, and it's usually like 16. So immediately after we got back from Bloom, everybody was coming down with, in quotes, Bloom flu, aka COVID. Like, let's just be real. Everybody was diagnosing or getting positive COVID tests out of that one. So essentially the whole peloton had respiratory issues going on the next week. And as soon as I got back, I had some respiratory issues as well. So I fought it pretty well. I took like 2 or 3 days off the bike, and then I got back on it and everything was okay. But it was a really weird experience. I think that it just hit me early, and I think that it caught me in the middle of this race because, well, I think it actually caught me just overnight, putting my body through the circuit race before. So, yeah, not a good result for me, guys. The race itself, though, chaos. It was like full-on war. I dialed myself in. I don't know. I'm getting much better at bike racing. Things are working out great. It was just on this particular day, I was really struggling with the respiratory. So results to come in the future. I really am, I don't know, man. A lot of positive takeaways this weekend. I raced my bike really well. I did a lot of things. I was able to even race pretty well the next day in like the 76-mile road race. Made it all the way until the climb. Helped chase some things back, shut some things down so that Ansel could maintain his GC position. He took 4th overall. Congrats to my dude. It's an excellent result. So it was a heck of a weekend. I highly recommend this race for anybody who's interested in, you know, stage racing, especially like these roads are beautiful. Downtown Wenatchee, so cool. All the people that came out, thank you all so much. It was an amazing environment. I will be back, that's for sure. I need to redeem myself in this crit, hopefully with no Bloom flu. So it is what it is, guys. Yeah, respiratory thing, not cool. I'll show you guys some Whoop statistics or something. But yeah, go check out the Sitting In podcast. I am back. I will be putting out some content. I'm going to the Global Brand Summit for Paul Normal in early June, so might be out a weekend there, but I'm probably going to vlog that. So nonetheless, stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.